Let's go ahead and add the benefits. And we're going to open this program and benefits screen. Probably it should say, okay, or just, that's fine. We're going to need to add a second data table here where it shows the list of benefits that are related to this program. So we're going to first need to get the benefits that are related to this program. And we're going to do this by using a data fetcher. And we don't need SOSL configuration. This is just, let's add the name for a second, data fetcher benefits. And then the object is benefit. Let's go ahead down here and select benefit. And then it is expecting a query string. I'll just go outside now to prepare that SOQL query, and then we're gonna come back in here and see that. Let's create a new resource and let's create a formula, and that's gonna be our SOQL, and that's benefits. And this is return a text. Remember, the SOQL is just a string, it's a text. And let's write it down first in plain English before we write the actual one. So that is select ID name from benefit where program ID equals selected program. So this is just like plain English. If I check syntax, this is wrong. It needs to be in between quotes. So let's start fixing things. Let's replace this selected program with the data table select program and then selected row program ID, not parent program ID. So this is the ID of the program that the user selected. Now this needs to be the API name of the program ID field on the benefit object. So if in doubt, we can go to the object itself. You can actually use Salesforce Inspector for that as well. We can search for the benefits object and then show all data. And then here I can search for that program ID. So this is the API name of the program ID field on the benefit object. So I'll just replace this with this. And that's what we need. It is still not in text format. So what we're gonna do is we can add quotes. You can definitely use a single quote, or you can use double quotes. I'm gonna use double quotes and I'll show you why in a second. Double quotes here and then double quotes here and then plus, because this is a value, it's not exactly a text. It does return a text, but because it's a value, then I need to separate these two. So this is the first piece of the string, and then this is the second piece of the string. And to concatenate two pieces of string together, you can use the plus sign. Let's check syntax, it's valid. Now let's click done. Let's go to this screen, and this is the data fetcher. And let's provide this here with the query string with the one that we just created. Click that. Okay, I'm gonna do one other thing here just to see the actual string. So I'm gonna add a display text on the and display text underscore SOQL return. I don't like to have capital letters just like next to each other, so I'm just gonna separate them like this. And here I can access outputs from the data fetcher. To know what are the outputs of any component, you can click on that component, go to advanced, and then click manual assign variables, and you're gonna see the list of outputs that we can get from this. So I know that we have the SOQL query is one of the outputs, and then we have the retrieved records is another output. I just looked at this to know which outputs we've got, and what I want to confirm now is the SOQL that we actually wrote is valid, is correct. So let's insert it in here. Let's go to the data fetcher, and then the output, one of the outputs is the query string, that's the SOQL query. Let's just display that there. Now let's debug and see what happens. Let's just select alpha, another alpha. All right, Now we see one thing here. The display text is saying select ID name from benefit where program ID equals, and there is no ID. And then another problem here is an error. The data fetcher is actually hidden, but because there is an error, it's actually showing up, and it says the data fetcher screen component on this screen is reporting the following error: unexpected token. Now, let's do one thing. We need the data fetcher to run only after we select something. So we're gonna make it conditionally visible. So we're gonna add visibility here. And let's make it only visible when we make a selection in the program data table. So we're gonna say data table program. First selected row, I'll just say select program ID, and that is null false, meaning there is a value, meaning we made a selection. Otherwise, it doesn't show up. Let's keep the display text as is. Now let's try again. Debugging again this time. Selecting alpha again. And the display text is not showing up. It's empty. And then the data fetcher is not reporting an error because it hasn't been triggered yet. It's not visible yet. Once we make a selection, we'll see what happens. Okay. Now this here, SQL query, is working fine. I mean, it looks fine. Except now the data fetcher is reporting an error, and it says that there is a missing value at the end. And if you look at this SQL query, you would notice that something is off. This here is an ID, but an ID needs to be encapsulated in between quotes. When you write a SQL query, if you take this like this and you go to the data export in Salesforce Inspector, and you run this, it's going to tell you that there is an error here with this part. It doesn't understand what that is. The reason is that it is supposed to be encapsulated in quotes like this. Let's try this. Is this ID wrong? Let's grab any program. Let's go to any program and just to grab the education ID. And let's go back to the query itself. Okay, the ID is correct. There is the benefit here, there is a typo. Benefit again. Okay, let's go fix that first. SQL benefits, and then this here. Fixing one thing. Okay, I'll just keep the other problem where we don't have the quotes yet. Okay, alpha, another alpha, education. Okay, we still have a problem. Now let's grab this again into data Salesforce Inspector Reloaded, and let's add quotes here. Let's see. Now it works. So we basically need to add quotes to this. We need to add quotes in here and in here. To do that, we're going to go to the formula, and so we need to add a quote like before this and a quote after it. To do that, I'm going to do this: double quotes, and then single quote, and then double quotes. So I'm basically saying, it's very small, but I am saying I need a single quote in here, and then I'm going to add a plus to concatenate, and I'll just repeat the same thing at the end: double, single, double. Now I am adding this single quotes in between these two, and I want to add a space here. As a matter of fact, we could have added the single quote right in here without having to concatenate, which is fine. All right, let's click done. Let's save, and let's debug again. Alpha, alpha. Let's select education. Okay, now this looks good, and the data fetcher is not reporting errors. So we assume now the data fetcher is actually working fine. It is returning records. Now what we should take these records and display them in a data table. Let's go here. Let's add a data table. And let's name this data table benefits. Select benefit. And then select benefit. And the records that we are displaying here now are the ones that we are getting from the data fetcher, and then the retrieved records. If I go to let's do rows first. Let's set this to single. We want them to be able to search. And under columns, you would notice that it is actually getting the fields related to the benefit. So how does it know that this list of return records are benefits? Because in the data fetcher we said that the object that we are retrieving is benefit. So that's how it's communicating the benefit object to the output records. So that's how it knows that these are benefits. Let's add the benefit name. That's all we need for now. And click done and save. Now let's debug, and the expectation now is that data table gives us the list of benefits that are related to the program. Another alpha. Now the benefit data table would like it to show up only once we make a selection in the program. Let's fix that in a second. Now that we are here, let's see if this is actually working. If I select education, now we see 2 records in the benefit, and we see the display text as well. If I change this to this, probably health and wellness doesn't have benefits. That could be the reason. And we see now different values in here, that this data table is being reactive. It is responding to the data fetcher, and the data fetcher is responding to the program. Let's fix the display text and the data table here. Let's get rid of this. We don't need it anymore. And let's make this visible only when data table select program ID is null false. Let's save this and debug again. Education, now it shows the list of education. It is now working as expected.